Williams have been a team in perpetual decline for almost 2 decades. They've had glimpses of revival, but never for long enough to really enjoy one of those big bottles of bubbly you get when you win a race. We recently looked at the potential for the future of the Haas F1 team, so let's give the same treatment for the next team from the bottom of the grid, Williams. I'm a historian by education and qualification, so you can't begrudge me if my look at the future of Williams starts in the past. Riding the waves of history. The team's performance, like many others, has come and gone in waves. Well, the 21st century hasn't been too kind to them.
It's been a tough few months, but actually, really, in reality, it's probably been a tough few years.
The historic team has a legacy, some steady financial backing, and potential for a future under new regulations in the sport. The 21st century hasn't been the kindest to the team. It began with sporadic wins against a dominant Ferrari, leading to the car being a strong second on the grid in 2003. A 4th place finish in 2004 and 5th place in 2005 saw a steady decline in performance, while they remained a strong midfield contender. 2006 saw them reach a miserable 8th in the constructor standings despite their exciting new Cosworth-powered engine. That was the first wave of decline for the team in the 21st century. 2007 would be a blip of a year with a 4th place finish, but 2008 would have them drop back down to 8th. 2009 had them gain a place to 7th, then 6th in 2010. Again, the team fell back to 9th on the grid, with only 5 points to their name in 2011, the worst year in the team's history to that point. A year later, 2012, sees the team get their first win in 8 years, but they still only achieve an 8th place finish. 2013 sees them match their worst year to date, 2011, with 5 points and a 9th place finish. 2014 sees the team reach 3rd again, almost out of nowhere, with a great chassis and the Mercedes power unit, with 8 podiums from 19 races that year. 2015 saw them retain their 3rd place finish. The latest generation of F1, known as the hybrid era, have been a difficult time since their initial outing. 3rd place constructor finishes in 2014 and 15. In the early years of these new engines, they started near the top. As the years went on, their performance dragged and drained until they had little left to celebrate, just as it had been for multiple lengths of time in the 2000s and 2010s. If history teaches us anything from this, is that any team has the capability to rise to the top again, given the right conditions. A bit more context. Honestly, this is the last bit of history in the video because I'm supposed to be talking about the future of the team, but I'll keep it brief. It's pretty important. For the whole life of the team until 2020, it was owned and managed by the Williams family, from which the team name comes. The team was founded in 1977 by Frank Williams and Patrick Head, and remained under the Frank's management until 2020, though somewhat indirectly for some years, while his daughter Claire Williams acted in his place. In 2020, the family sold the team to Dorilton Capital, and formally stepped away from the team 2 months later. Reports stated that it was agreed that the team would continue to use the name for the foreseeable future. Dorilton Capital are a long-term investment firm who seek to acquire, recapitalise and support the long-term growth across a range of industry sectors. On their website, they state that they prefer to partner with incumbent or current management to create value over the long term. All the wording implies that they aren't looking for a quick sale and may be looking to be in the long haul. Their purchases range in age, however, they do have some going back to 2010 and 2011 and are still a part of their portfolio, which adds some validity to the idea that they could be in this for more than a quick win. The investment firm, based out of New York, primarily have invested in manufacturing and science-based companies, as well as industrial cleaning companies and now a Formula 1 team. The purchase seems a bit out of character for the company, being effectively a sports team, albeit with manufacturing research and development and machining roots. It is also the only current listed investment on the portfolio not listed on the North American continent. So, what's next? It appears that Dorilton Capital's purchase could have been a bit of a passion project for one of the firm's investors, James Matthews, a former Formula Renault driver in the mid-1990s. Based on the firm's other purchases and their manifesto of how they like to leave management in place, coupled with Claire's exit interview with Sky Sports, I honestly believe that the intention was to keep her in place as a team principal. For one reason or another, what they could offer wasn't going to work for her, and she chose to step away from the role and the team. It's anyone's guess whether this was an issue with internal politics, money, or, as she said, it was just time for her to take some time away from the sport. It appears that part of the agreement with Dorilton Capital purchasing Williams Racing was for the team name to remain intact, for the time being at least. At present they don't really have much cause to change the name, and I can't really see there being many options available to them anyway. Naming the car after the capital investment firm, after all, seems very far from their style. There is likely to be a soft or hard term to the agreement on the name, which may depend on some factors. It's anyone's guess what could trigger this, whether it be a period of time has to pass, consent by the family on the change of the name, or my personal assumption that it's tied to the eventual passing of Frank Williams himself. Despite saying near future, let's ignore the 2021 season. I hope they do well, but it appears that they may be skipping a year of development and focusing on the 2022 rule changes instead, so let's do the same. Williams will stay around, for now, under the new management, with new regulations coming and a cost cap introduced. Williams are in a better space than ever to start their comeback. Other teams have proven it is possible, with McLaren and Renault spending time at the back of the grid before making a return to the top. Well, the middle at least. Williams' own history, as discussed before, has proven this too. Williams could certainly be running for the points, podiums and prize money if they can get the formula right over the next generation. Assuming Dorilton stick around as owner, we could see them bring a manufacturer to support the team financially. BMW, Porsche, VW Group, Toyota, Ford. There are dozens of manufacturers who might dip their toes back into F1 with the new rules and cost caps in place. So let's take a look at one example of how this could look, shall we? Let's take VW Group as an example of a potential team partnership. VW Group is quoted as showing great interest in the prospect of entering Formula 1 in a statement to the BBC earlier this year. The head of the motorsport division is currently Fritz Enzinger, the former head of BMW Sport during the push into F1 up to the end of 2010 season. So if you wanted to get someone in who had experience in F1, he'd probably be on your list, if hypothetically you wanted to start looking to get into the sport. The latest Concord agreement requires a team entering the sport to pay in around $200 million just to join the grid. This cost isn't applied if they are purchasing a team already on the grid or buying naming rights, like Alfa Romeo did with the Sauber team. So again, hypothetically, it would be in the best interest of a team like VW, who could be looking to get involved in the sport, to buy into an established team. Current CEO of Williams is a man named Jost Capito, best known for his instrumental role in the VW domination of the WRC during this 4-year period with the team as head of the motorsport division. The role now held by Enzinger, and you can see the connections forming, I'm sure. Getting a manufacturer behind them, even if not initially supplying the engine for the car, would be a great way to secure a team financially without relying on the owner's funds at the same level they are currently. Eventually, for example, with the introduction of the simplified engine regulations in 2025, we could see V Williams bring along their own engine to the grid, and I could see them being pretty competitive if they did. Also, as a coincidental side note, no, honestly, I do think it's a coincidence and not a conspiracy, the colours and designs of the car this year do feel very VW. It's hard to say what will happen to the Williams team in the long term. Unfortunately, it is the state of F1 that we lose team names off the grid, even if the team itself kind of stays around. Force India had a history around it, as did Sauber, but neither team name appears on the standings after each race. The teams are still there, but their names have changed and many of the people involved have changed, eventually leaving not much of the spirit that initially ignited the team. The same is eventually likely to happen to Williams. It may not be in its current ownership, but as a non-works team, it's unlikely we'll see the name in the sport forever, despite the fantastic heritage. When do you think Williams' next podium is going to be? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new videos as they come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.